But before that, Mr. President, I had a question, if I may.
Go ahead.
Mr. President, in the break, I was asking that I may have to ask for a clarification or even a reconsideration, depending on the answer. Because, as you know, we don't have all the drafts ready as amended. And it came so fast, I was startled when it said something about SBMA, particularly Section 12B,
I can
which
respond,
really
Mr.
defines
President.
I will not finish. How can you respond? What is mine? Do you know what my question will be?
Because Mr. President, the majority floor leader, as he put on record, he conferred with me and then he went ahead to explain and then he said that I will put it on record. But if His Honor would like to proceed, it's okay with me.
I would like it to,
Senator Gordon, sige, para matapos na tayo.
para malinaw. I just want to know, what are we amending here? Because the essence of the Freeport is the free flow or movement of goods and capital within, into, and exported out of the Subic Special Economic Zone, as well as provide incentives such as tax and duty-free importations of raw materials, capital, and equipment. However, exportation or removal of goods from the territory of the Subic Special Economic Zone to other parts of the Philippine territory shall be subject to customs duties and taxes under the Customs and Tariff Code and under relevant tax laws of the Philippines. Mr. President, when I lobbied for this bill together with the people of Olongapo, we were really trying to follow what Hong Kong and Singapore did, Mr. President. Now, I want to know and be clarified, what do we have to amend with this bill? There's nothing in the Freeport that affects that will affect the proposal under the so-called rationalization, Mr. President. The tax is still 5%. The essence of the Freeport is free flow of goods. You cannot take out goods without being taxed. And that is why the Department of Finance should put up a customs zone, office right outside the boundary of the Freeport. That is what they have always maintained. In fact, they're violating it. They want to stay inside the Freeport, and that has led to many, many cases where the investors complain that they're being built by some sectors of customs. Now, I want to know, what are we amending here? And can we be more specific? Are we amending, for example, sinama nyo ba ito doon sa reduction ng na pinopropose sa Senator Rector na it shall be anything above 1%? 1 billion, Mr. President, pesos? Because, Mr. President, when we got FedEx, that's a multi-billion peso dollar investment. When we got Coastal Petroleum, that was a multi-billion peso engagement. Acer, when we got that, that's a multi-billion. When we got Hanjin, those are multi-billion dollar investments, Mr. President. And I want to know, what are we amending? Because if you put handcuffs on Subic, Subic will simply die, Mr. President. It will have to go through a lot of bureaucratic rigmarole. And I don't want to quarrel every day of our lives for the rest of my life. If we pass this, we would have to be fighting FIRB all the time because they're going to be trying to intrude into the business that is not broken. And when they come in, it will be broken, Mr. President. And that's my question. What are we amending here? Section 12B. I don't think we should include the Freeport of Subic in that provision.
I can reply.
All right, Senator Cayetano, please.
To hear my reply.
Please respond. Senator Cayetano.
Thank you. Mr. President, if we read Section 15B, which is the amendatory clause, it states here, the following laws, decrees, executive orders, rules, and regulations are hereby amended or modified accordingly. A, to transfer to the Fiscal Incentive Review Board the power of the Investment Promotions Agency Board to review, approve, or disapprove fiscal incentives and to mandate the Investment Promotion Agency Board to recommend to the Fiscal Incentive Review Board after a thorough review of the application, the approval or disapproval of the same. The following provisions are hereby amended. And then it makes reference to the laws creating the IPAs, including the law that creates SBMA. So that is the only part that is being amended, Mr. President, under this provision. It's an amendatory clause that makes it very clear that what is being amended is that power of FIRB. And that is also now deemed amended by the latest amendments we made, which is to give all of the IPAs the delegated power to grant incentives up to the amount of 1 billion. I'd like to spread that into the record so that that is very clear to all the all other IPAs as well, Mr. President. It does not change in any way the free flow of goods and services that is currently being enjoyed by the SUBIC, by SBMA, Mr. President. I hope
Mr. President.
that suffices.
No, Mr. President, it does not. Because the essence of the Freeport is that it doesn't even have what you call an income tax holiday. The essence of the Freeport is that there is a final tax of 5%, Mr. President. That's the only incentive that is being given there. And that so long as you consume in Subic, you're fine. But if you take it out, you're taxed. As simple as that. So what are we amending, Mr. President? You're going to say, when we get another company, when we finally get a locator in the former Hanjin zone, which I'm sure it's going to be in the billions of dollars, Subic has no say. Aba, to me, it really is an intrusion on local autonomy, on the autonomy of the people who work hard for Subic, fought hard for Subic, did not allow it to be stolen, and work hard. Young people from Harvard, from Stanford, the poor people that I was with today, who work there, matatanda na sila. Nagwawali sa puputol mo, ipapatakbo ng kuryente na walang bayad. It's a travesty if you're going to change that. I was there this morning, Mr. President. And we were recalling, because yesterday was the anniversary of Subic Bay. And now we're going to change what? What are we amending? The only thing that we have is for 5%, final tax of 5%. That's the only thing we're amending, Mr. President. That's the only incentive we have.
Senator Cayetano, is it not the 5% remains?
Yes, Mr. President, that is still there. We did not take it away. In fact, that is what we were emphasizing when Senator Recto was also reporting to the body that 5% stays what he was also fighting for. And I said that, yes, DOF included that and kept it there, Mr. President. So I'm not sure I'm not quite certain what else I have to explain, because that 5% incentive is still there.
So why do we have to amend it?
Mr. President, I already explained what was being amended is the role of FIRB, that they would be the ones to grant the authority now above 1 billion. We accepted the amendment of Senator Angara and Senator Recto that 1 billion and below, investments of 1 billion and below, the IPAs will continue to approve on their own. Beyond that, it is the FIRB, but still the IPA will process everything and will simply submit this to the FIRB, Mr. President.
You know, Mr. President, Senator Rector and I, and even Senator Dillon have been in discussions about this. And we said the Freeport should not be excluded. And I passionately discussed this on several occasions when I made my interventions. It was very clear that it's a separate animal, Mr. President. It's a customs-free territory. 5% stays. What are we amending is my question. Now, if you look down on the next amendment,
The way I understand it, Senator Gordon, the amendment is that beyond 1 billion, the FRIB is informed, but the below 1 billion, it's still the same. Nothing is touched. Nothing is touched. Nothing is amended as far as the
just submitted. Yes, Mr. President.
Di ba? Ganun kasimple yun eh.
Mr. President, hindi kasimple yun. Because when I was in Subic, we got over $3 to $4 billion in investments, Mr. President.
Hindi, kaya nga. What is saying?
And when
You're asking what the amendment is. The amendment is beyond 1 billion, ipapaalam sa FRIB. That's the amendment.
No, Mr. President, I cannot agree because I'm just stating my fact. I'm
You
representing my.
do not agree to the content, to the amendment. You're not disagreeing with what I'm saying, di ba? Because I'm just giving you the answer.
No, Mr.
You
President,
do not agree to the amendment.
the principle.
No, but you will have to accept what the answer is. That is the answer. That's what I understand from the sponsor.
We do not put it in a vacuum, Mr. President.
Ano daw?
Put it in a vacuum. That one size fits all. Hindi naman one size fits all yan eh. Iba ang nature ng Subic Bay Freeport, iba yung nature ng Clark Freeport, iba yung nature ng mga Freeports, Mr. President. At Bataan Freeport, iba ang nature niyan. Hindi naman special economic zone yan eh. Na talaga meron silang IH yung income tax holidays, meron silang 5%, meron silang kung ano mga benefits. Yun ang nira-rationalize natin. But for a Freeport, it's different. For example, Mr. President, every time we get now an investment na malaki, tatakbo pa doon sa taas, Subic. Samantalang we have done our job. We have served our country. We've gotten all these investments. Now you're going to put us back again to square one. Now everything that we do will now have to be approved upstairs. That's ridiculous, Mr. President.
Well, then you have to object to that amendment, or you propose your own amendment. That is the way to go for us now, because we can't do anything about it. It's the proposal of the sponsor. And the proposal of Senator Angara and Senator Drilon and Senator Recto. So these are the amendments that cover this portion. So if the gentleman from the distinguished gentleman from Zambales do not agree, then you have to pose an objection. It's simple as that.
Mr. President, the preliminary remarks that I made was I wanted to question, and I did it during the recess so that there would be no showdown, Mr. President. And I said, depending on the answer, on the amendment, when clarified, I would like to object to the amendment. And that's what I said. But I'm trying to explain to everyone that when you amend that, you are really killing the essence of the initiative, the energy that drives the Freeport. We're going to slow down all the record that has been achieved by Subic. Na mabilis kami mag-approve. Ngayon, dadaan pa kami ngayon sa taas sa Fiscal Incentives Review Board. Why? Why is it so important that DOF has to have a Fiscal Incentives Review Board? Hindi ko maintindihan yan. You know, Mr. President, I know how to fight too, and I'm not threatening. But Mr. President, I do not believe that this should be done to the people of Subic, particularly the people of Olongapo. 30,000 people volunteered there to get this done. We envisioned it, we lobbied with it, and then we ran with it. Nothing was stolen. We were able to get all these investments beyond $1 billion, Mr. President. 1 billion pesos lang ibibigay ninyo eh. Tapos ibabalik natin ulit doon sa 1 billion pesos. Napaka-unfair yan. Napakasakit naman yan. Eh kung sa inyo gawin yan. Yung sinasabi kanina ni Senator Tolentino, I'll tell you, Cavite has 159,000 people working there in 16 economic zones. In Subic, we have more than 200,000 people working, Mr. President, in one zone. That's Subic Bay. What are we talking about here? Are we killing the energy and drive of a people just to satisfy the lust for power? Kung naman pakiusap ko eh. Bakit ba nagmamadali ito mga ito na kunin lahat yan? Eh sububok naman tayo muna. Baka mapako tayo. Because there's going to be a whole conversation about this when this is approved. A lot of the people are going to say, this is wrong. And what is that going to do? It's going to show that we're arguing over the incentives we want to give. So why should investors come in here? That's my point, Mr. President. You know, you answered me. I don't want to defy you. I understand you. But I'm trying to make you understand that there is a basic principle in Subic Bay and in Clark You cannot say that Clark has not recovered. Now is na Clark International Airport. Marami na rin mga negosyo doon. Lahat yan, Mr. President, umubra. Thanks not to the national government, but to the people who are from Zambales and from Pampanga, Mr. President. And for Bataan also. I speak for the people of Bataan. I authored the Freeport Bill of Bataan. It is approved, Mr. President. Lumakas yung Freeport of Bataan. Patay na yan. O ba't naman papalitan na naman natin yan? Di kung gusto yung palitan nyo lahat yung perspective. Pero alam ko naman, hindi naman kayo papayag doon eh. Ang gusto niyo lahat agad makuha. I don't know why. Bakit? Have we relinquished our powers of deliberation in the Senate just because whatever the UF wants, the UF gets? Mr. President, we are a deliberative body elected by the people of this country. All of us were elected. We have officers here. And Mr. President, if I see that the powers of the Senate is being diminished, if I see that a certain government agency is going to dictate upon us, I will stand up every day if I have to.
Freeport, sir.
So doon lahat ng negosyo doon, 5% din?
Yes.
Sir, yung mga registered, sir.
Hindi.
Hindi registered doon eh.
Iba, hindi siya Freeport. Let's say may hotel na tinayo doon, or what, 5% gross?
Mr. President, may we request Senator Ralph to
Big lahat,
put it on mute?
5% gross, di ba?
Put his mic on mute.
I'm sorry?
Not muted, Mr. Senator Recto, okay. Okay.
So what is the pleasure of Senator Gordon after that manifestation?
I speak to the Senate. Bataan Freeport,
Diego?
Bataan Freeport, Zamboanga Freeport, and all the Freeports, Mr. President, because these are different animals.
Yeah.
I don't think too much to ask because all of these have contributed except for some. Aurora has not contributed yet. Tataka nga ako kay Sani, gawa ng tatay niya, tapos papakit tayo na 1 billion pesos lang. Ano naman kung sinasabi dyan, pero ako, I would not accept it for Aurora.
Majority Leader?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I don't want to argue with my godfather on this particular issue. I will just discuss the process. In fairness to the good sponsor, we've been discussing this measure for several months. Inabutan na tong ilang break, Mr. President. 1 year na pala. 1 year na po itong create na ito. As a matter of fact, this emanated from the 17th Congress. So now we're on this 18th Congress. And as a matter of fact, this was supposed to go ahead of the budget. But then we decided to take a break so that we can come up with a consensus and then come back after the budget. So this is now on the table, Mr. President. The good gentleman from Zambales is right. It's a deliberative body. And therefore, if there is an objection to a particular amendment or proposal, then we will just eventually have to put it on a vote and leave it at that. We have to leave it at that. I mean, that is the process of legislation, Mr. President. We all know that. I don't have to tell anybody that. But we eventually have to decide on this issue at hand. And this is the issue on the table right now, Mr. President. And I would like to see this pushed through because there are provisions in this measure that I feel that I'm fighting for the 99.5% of the businesses in the country, which is the MSME sector. And I'm part of that because I'm a medium-sized electric producer and ice producer. I get no incentives whatsoever. None. None that any of these Freeports have. None that PESA gives. None that BOI gives. I pay exactly 35% of my personal income tax, 30% corporate income tax. We pay quarterly, advance even, or else the BIR is up our butts. So I would like to see this with finality because this will give us a bit of respite from a very, very high income tax regime. So let's be fair to everybody. If there are certain provisions that we feel are not right, let's vote on it. If there are certain provisions that are right, let's vote on it. And let the voice of the majority prevail, Mr. President, because I get nothing. I am a businessman with no incentives. I have friends in the chambers that have incentives for the last 30 years, Mr. President. Are they paying the right wages? I pay above minimum wage, Mr. President. I ask them, they pay me minimum wage. I pay 20% above minimum wage. When you ask them, they pay minimum wage. So yeah, what's my position on this? Let's have some reform. I agree on reform. Now, we bent backwards initially in the 17th Congress, Mr. President, put on record, I was against this because I was against the DOF provisions na iaangat nila yung 5% to 10%. Talagang aalis yung investors natin dito. Binalik na natin po sa 5%. Sinabi nila 3 years ng transition period. Talagang walang papasok at aalis lahat ng investors. Ginawa na nilang 10 taon, Mr. President, with an extension of 17 years. In Thailand, it's only 10 years. Malaysia, only 10 years. Yun lang po. And then they have to pay the proper taxes in under their Board of Investment scheme. So, di sinagot na nila po ako. Ito po yung against ako dyan eh. Short period, yung short sunset period, they increased it tenfold. I mean, not tenfold, but threefold. Yung 5%, binalik po nila. Di ba po? So wala na po akong ibang, I have nothing to argue about. Yung 30%, initially the proposal of the DOF was 1% per annum for 5 years. 29, 27, 28, 27, 26 for 5 years until the 5th year, 25. Pumayag na po sila sa 25% corporate income tax immediately. Tuntua po kami lahat ng MSMEs. So, Mr. President, I'm appealing. We gotta make a decision because it's December already. We have to tell the people some good news. Aside from the national budget, we have to pump prime the businesses, and the only way to pump prime them is giving them respite from a very high tax regime, Mr. President. That's my appeal. So, we make a decision. We win some, we lose some. What's important is we make it painless as possible. And I want to thank the sponsor. They've been making it as painless as possible. Senator Ralph's amendments have almost all have been accepted. Talagang pinag-usapan namin talaga, accept mo na. Accept na natin. Inaaway na namin yung DOF dito para ma-accept na nila. So, Mr. President, my appeal is let's make a decision once and for all. Because a lot of people are waiting for this also for its approval. I mean, people may be, I don't know how they'll be affected, Mr. President. All the eco zones, they will have the 27 years. I will be almost 80 years old by the time those incentives will be over, Mr. President. The others, they'll be 100 years old. So my point is, Mr. President, I mean, their status will remain. Subic will remain, Clark will remain, they will remain Freeports. Their managements will not be changed. All they have to do is to report, Mr. President. Because I do agree with some of the proposals on the FIRB. Because there are locators in the country, Mr. President, for the last 20 years, to be very honest about it, hindi naman sila nag-expand. Ganun pa rin sila. Yeah, they export the same thing. Microchips or whatever, they export the same thing. But they pay minimum wage. They don't give any benefits to their, I mean, not as much benefits as other MSMEs do give. They don't expand. They don't give value added. And yet they receive halos lahat ng incentives na ako'y naiinggit na sana binigyan ako. Dahil wala po kaming natatanggap bilang MSME. So yun ang aking punto, Mr. President. We have to make a decision. My apologies. My apologies to
Yes, well, yeah, we are making the decision now. So, Madam Sponsor, where are we? What part of the amendments are we in?
Yes, Mr. President, we are ready to proceed. As discussed on the issue of the MCIT, may
Mr.
I direct you now to...
Mr. President, I do not want to make this messy, but with all due respect, I have to answer the remarks of my good friend Senator Zubiri. Mr. President, we're not talking about all the special economic zones. Many of the businesses that he represents, according to him, do not pay corporate income taxes. They do not pay 30%, Mr. President. They're not corporations. Second, Mr. President.
Mr. President, let me correct that, Mr. President. With respect to my ninong, I pay We're corporations. I'm corporation. Bukidnon Power Corporation is of corporation.
We're not just talking about my friend, Mixubiri, Mr. President. We're talking about all the others. And I'm talking about the Freeport of Subic, Cagayan, Clark, and all the others. Freeport ng Bataan, Mr. President. So that's all. Hindi naman lahat ang sinasabi. And by the way, it is being made to appear as if I'm trying to delay it. I was always intervening and making the statement, Mr. President. In fact, I was made to understand na yung reports, hindi nakasama. So, nung biglang may amendatory dito. And Mr. President, hindi lang report ang ginagawa niya. Pag lumampas ng 1 billion yan, hindi report yan, Mr. President. It will have to be approved by the FIRB. So let us tell the truth here. Hindi naman ganyan yan eh. And who doesn't want to finish this? I'm tired, Mr. President. We know. Senator Subiri knows I'm tired. Because I've been working every day, morning and afternoon and evening, not just on the Senate, but also on the disaster. And I'm happy to do it. But however, Mr. President, let's put the record straight, Mr. President. Ito, ginagawa natin ito, alang-alang sa ating bansa. Ang Hong Kong hindi nagpapalit since 1840, Mr. President. All the other freeports in the world hindi nagpapalit, Mr. President. Ayan o. 1894, Copenhagen. 1842, Hong Kong. New York, 1937. Poland, 1947, in Gdansk. Panama, Freeport yan. Hindi special economic zone yan. Freeport yan. Ang Subic, 1992. Ang Clark, 1993. Los Angeles Foreign Trade Zone is 1994. Hindi nagpapalit yan. Hindi makakasakit yan. Kung yun ang sinasabi nyo makakasakit yan, hindi totoo yan. Nakakatulong yan. Nagbayad din kami ng tax. Lahat kami nagbabayad ng tax zone. At malaki ang contribution. Pati local government nakikinabang doon sa Subic, sa Clark at sa Bataan. Lahat binibigyan ang local government. So don't make it appear that we are a burden to the people. What is happening, and I know, kaibigan nyo, kaklase ko rin niya si Sally Dominguez, kaklase ko yung mga kaibigan niya sa DOF, pagbibigyan ko sila kung nasa lugar. But Mr. President, if you want to vote, maybe you got the votes, you're very sure about it. It will leave a very bad taste in the mouth. It might even create relationship problems in the future, which I don't want to see. Mr. President, hindi naman kami nakikialam dito eh. Pinagtatanggol ko lang yung constituency the same way Mixubiri will fight for Bukidnon, the same way Senator Recto would fight for. Well, Senator Recto was doing it in favor of DOF because alam niya, maninindigan yung iba dito. Siya ang nagtatawid para matahi. Ang usapan nga, tanong yung Senator Recto, ang usapan namin, hindi sasama yung Subic, yung Clark. Tanong nyo. Kaya tumimik na ako kung hindi sasama yan eh. Eh nung biglang sinama, ano ba yung ina-amend? So Mr. President, hindi naman tama yung mga tirada na matagal nyo lang pinag-uusapan niya. Matagal lahat yung nag-uusapan. I've had my pains here. I've submitted reports na hindi nga napasa dahil ayaw nyo iboto. That's the majority. I respect that. Pero kung ganito rito, imagine all the pain, all the hardships made by our people there. You never saw it. You were never there. You never saw how hard the people were insecure. The pain of suffering. Natamaan na ng pinatubo ng iba. Wala naman binigay ng gobyerno. Natamaan na yung Subic, may yung Subic. Umalis ang Amerikano, pinalis. Tapos kami lahat ang naghukay. Kami lahat ang nagtayo. Tapos ngayon, gumaganda. You know, let me tell you. Nung araw, boom, Pilipinas nakikinabang dyan. May $200 allowance. Pupunta yung mga Pilipino dyan, mga kababayan natin, imbes na pumunta sa Hong Kong, and they buy duty-free goods there when they go. Hanggang $200. Nainggit yung mga laki dyan. Naging $100. Ngayon, $50. Ngayon, wala na yan. Palaging inaalis. Lahat ng mga initiatives dyan, wawala. Because ayaw nilang lalaki. Ayaw ko kung bakit ganoon eh. But that's the nature of the beast. Now, Mr. President, do what you will. But don't try to muzzle me by saying all these things na to placate our bosses from the OF. I am not going to be kneeling down before these people na nakikita ko, wala naman nangyayari. Iniimbestiga natin, nag-i-smuggle ng drugs, nag-i-smuggle lahat, hindi naman nakahuli, wala nakukulong. And then placate them? Excuse me, sir. I was not built that way. And you know that. So do what you will, Mr. President. I must say I'm very disappointed in Mace because he knows how hard we work. Alam natin nagmamadali tayo. Di magmadali kayo. Remember, you want to make haste? Baka mapako kayo na malalim.
All right. You are correct. This is a deliberative body. That's why we cannot prevent others from thinking otherwise. And then
Yes.
there is no way I can see that we are muscling you. No one is muscling you.
Well, you're the one saying that, Mr. President. I didn't
Please do not say that. No one is muscling you. We're giving you the floor, even if the sponsor is the sponsor
Mr.
has the
President,
floor.
we're friends. We are friends.
Yes.
I
That's
only
why
said, and I was surprised that Mr. Subiri would say that matagal na ito eh. Dapat tapusin natin ito, bumoto na tayo eh. Ano bang ibig sabihin nun? Tatahimik ako? Excuse me, sir.
With the permission of the Senate President, if I may.
Yes, Senator Recto is recognized.
Maybe the proper procedure, Mr. President, is that we allow the sponsor to propose the amendments first with regard to the income tax side. And at the appropriate time, maybe the gentleman from Zambales, which I totally respect, especially with his efforts with SBMA, may propose an amendment later on to exempt Subic from the coverage of this act. Then we can vote on that issue, Mr. President, at the appropriate time.
That's the proper process, Mr. President. That's what I've spoken
Yes,
about.
that's why I'm asking the sponsor what is her pleasure.
Mr. President, as I mentioned earlier, we are prepared now to continue with the amendments on the income side. So if I may proceed, and then by all means, any other amendments that anyone would like to propose, it's my job to listen and to take it into consideration. But if I may go to those that were tabled, just to follow our order, I would like to proceed that way, Mr. President.
Yeah, that was what I was going to ask. Are these the ones that were tabled?
Yes, Mr. President.
Okay, let's proceed.
Okay. So, Mr. President, I'll just give a general heading so we know what we're talking about. This is on the MCIT for the domestic corporations on page 6, line 6, after the number
Point of order, Mr.
2021.
President. Point of order,
Insert
Mr.
the
President.
phrase.
With all due respect, and
What is the,
I just want
what
to
is
say,
the point of order?
there was a suggestion made by Senator.
What is the point of order?
There was a suggestion by Senator Recto that we will submit an amendment. I'm just stating that I will submit an amendment, Mr. President.
Yes, right now, Mr. President, we are proposing our amendments based on those items that were tabled for orderly disposal.
Yes.
And then after that, we are very happy to hear His Honor's proposed amendments.
All right, go ahead. Proceed.
Mr. President, I just need to check what is being flashed on the screen because it's different from my file. Just a technical matter.
Minimum corporate income.
If I may help the sponsor, Mr. President. Okay.
Go ahead, Senator Recto.
Yes. What I think the sponsor is proposing